to a new world order. Staying at home to protect ourselves and the ones we love. Ultimately meaning that we have empty streets, many closed doors, and limited movement. Yet, it's in times like these that the Kenyan spirit of resilience, unity, and resolve has in the past come to life and emboldened us as a people. Even now, amid the uncertainty and gloom, there is hope. Hope that together we will overcome this challenge and rise again as a nation. And when we do, the magic of Kenya will be here to take us on a thrilling adventure. We will once again do what we love, take to our sunny beaches to revitalize, and we will once again go back to having unforgettable safaris. Without a doubt, we will be back to creating memories together over good food and company, hanging out with friends as we cheer on our favorite teams, and taking a break from the everyday hustle at the park or even with just a good night out. Together, we will overcome this moment, and we will be back to doing all the things we love doing most. Magical Kenya. The magic awaits.
Yeyote aliye na kinga hafifu mwilini yuko katika hatari ya kuambukizwa COVID-19. Hao ni kama watu ambao wanaishi na magonjwa kama vile virusi vya HIV, kansa, TB, kisukari, miongoni mwa magonjwa mengine. Lazima wazingatie matibabu ili kuboresha kinga mwilini. Lazima wahakikishe wamepata dawa ipasavyo. Tembelea kliniki yako au kituo cha afya kilicho karibu nawe kwa maelezo kamili kuhusu jinsi ya kupata dawa. Pia wasaidie jamaa na rafiki kupata dawa. Dumisha mawasiliano nao na ufuate mwongozo wa kiafya kutoka kwa kituo cha afya ili kujikinga na virusi vya korona. Pata habari kuhusu COVID-19 kupitia vyanzo vinavyoaminika. Piga 719 au bonyeza *719#. COVID-19 inazuilika. Jilinde, linda familia na jamii. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na serikali ya Kenya.
The 7th of June 2020. Good evening to our viewers, wherever it is that you are watching us from here in Kenya and around the world. A very warm welcome to a comprehensive bulletin this night. And of course, remember, we also have family matters. We'll be telling you shortly who we will be having and what our topic of discussion is like tonight. But remember, the coverage on COVID-19 pandemic continues. And as the globally, we have about 6.6 million cases of COVID-19, with at least 300,000 people dying from the virus. US still leading with almost 2 million cases. And the latest in the country in the last 24 hours, from 2,833 samples that were tested, 167 people tested positive for coronavirus. This is the highest number to test positive so far since the first case of COVID-19 was reported. Remember, the samples are 2,833, meaning the number of cases of COVID-19 are currently increasing because such a number has never been reported from about 2,000 cases. And now the total, or the people who have recovered in the last 24 hours, are 47, and unfortunately one person has succumbed from the virus. And with an additional 167 cases of COVID-19, the total tally of COVID-19 in the country stand at 2,767 in the country, and those who have died from the virus thus far, 84, and 752 people have recovered and discharged from hospitals to their various homes right here in the country. That's the latest update on COVID-19. Remember, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe was also calling on a personal responsibility in the fight against coronavirus and warning residents, especially in the Old Town and Eastleigh, and also Kwale and Kilifi, where the cessation of movement was lifted, that this does not mean that the virus is not spreading, but rather it has slowed down, therefore telling them not to throw caution and the guidelines on COVID-19 to the winds. So on family matters tonight, as the country continues to fight coronavirus, tonight we are celebrating the female cancer survivors. Today the country was celebrating the 3rd annual National Cancer Survivors Day, celebrating the lives of these survivors. The World Health Organization has declared that cancer survivors are also at a risk of contracting or being infected with COVID-19 owing to low immunity. So what does the new normal for cancer survivors is like? That will be our discussion tonight. You want to look forward for that, talk to us at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Channel 1 Weekend. Let's first have a look at the highlights.
And it becomes important because the numbers are not going down. The numbers are going up. Today, for example, is our highest ever report of 167 positive cases in the country.
Focus shifts to counties as confirmed coronavirus cases hit 2,767 after 167 more persons test positive for the virus.
Tumefurahi by the tumesema ni asanti vile umefanya mambo yanayo curfew. At least hiyo curfew imesaidia watu wengine.
Msimu wa curfew umekuwa mgumu sana kwa watu wale ambao wanafanyanga kazi kama masaa ya jioni, sababu mara nyingi unakuta wateja wako mbioni.
Eastleigh and Mombasa's Old Town lights up following the lifting of cessation of movement order. And it is the story of misery and desperation as residents of Alego, Usonga and Budalangi struggle to reconstruct their lives after massive floods. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Purity Museo and Baron Abuli is our sign language interpreter tonight. Tell us where you're watching us from. On the show, we celebrate cancer survivors, specifically female cancer survivors. They have to take extra caution during these times owing to their compromised immunity to protect themselves from COVID-19 and what has changed for them. Tell us who you are celebrating, especially on the cancer survivors, who you celebrate tonight. We will be glad to sample your opinion. And also the fight against COVID-19, it is the first day of the 30 days of increased number of cessation of movement, especially in Nairobi County, and the curfew countrywide. Tell us what your thoughts and views are. Once again, the handles both on Facebook and Twitter. We are also live on YouTube. Feel free to stream live. Let's now get started. The country on Sunday recorded the highest number of new coronavirus infections at 167 after 2,833 samples were tested, bringing the total number of confirmed infections in the country to 2,767. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says that county governments will now have to enhance their capacity by ensuring they dedicate a minimum of 300 isolation beds to the management of COVID-19 disease.
With increasing numbers of coronavirus cases, the Ministry of Health is banking on swift response by county administrations, especially in boosting isolation bed capacity, with a target of at least 300 beds per county. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says that with the virus now deeply rooted within counties, it was time for governors to act.
It is so critical that we ensure that counties begin to take responsibility. I think the test of a devolved system is going to be now. Whether indeed devolution is going to work, whether indeed health as a devolved function is what it should be. I think this is a good test.
With a number of hospitals almost overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients, preparations are in top gear to roll out the home and community-based care protocol, which among other things entails training of health and community workers.
You must be asymptomatic or you have a very mild form of the disease based on the triaging by the doctors and the clinicians. Number 3 is that you must have no coexisting comorbidity like high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic chest problem, chronic kidney problem, and the likes. Number 4, you must have adequate space, preferably a separate room from the rest of the household members.
Leaders and other Kenyans breaking social distancing guidelines, as has been witnessed in recent days, also put on notice for engineering the spread of the virus.
Selling alcohol are on the increase, particularly in some estates in Nairobi, in Westlands, in the Kilimani area. Some of them even saying that they are now free to order 1 Kagwe special. If you are caught selling alcohol, opening a bar, your license is likely to be withdrawn.
Out of 2,833 samples tested, 167 new cases were recorded. Total number of confirmed cases in the country to 2,767. Within that period, an additional 46 patients were discharged, with 1 more patient succumbing to the virus, bringing the total to 84. Nairobi had the highest number of new infections with 54 cases, Mombasa 47, Busia 28, Kiambu 14, while Uasin Gishu had 11 cases. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Nancy. The move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to extend the nationwide curfew and stay of cessation of movement orders in Nairobi Metropolitan Service and Mombasa continues to draw varied reactions. Majority of traders and business owners particularly welcomed the extension of curfew hours, saying this will help boost their daily income. Safina Cheng Oma reports.
Kenyans continue to express mixed feelings after Saturday's announcement by President Uhuru Kenyatta, which, among other directives, saw the extension of a revised countrywide curfew.
The commencement time for the same shall be varied from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., with the end time for the same being varied from 5 a.m. to 4 a.m.
In Narok County, traders have welcomed the extension of curfew hours, saying it will help boost their income.
Kama mimi nausanga chai masaa ya jioni, unakuta mara nyingi ikifika 6 na mimi nilikuwa nasoea kuuza mpaka saa 2, ikifika 6 hakuna mtu hata. Watu wanaanza kukimbia ikifika 6, saa hiyo unakuta uwezi fanya mengi.
And as consultations on the adjustments to the school calendar continue, nominated Member of Parliament David Ole Sankok has underscored the need to consider the interests of persons living with disabilities in the protocols for reopening of schools.
Children with disabilities, some of them are on wheelchair. They need somebody to push that particular wheelchair. What is the social distance between the pusher of the wheelchair and the child that is in the wheelchair? We have developmental disorders, like mental disorders. Those kids also need to be protected. We have cerebral palsy, kids who require 24-hour care. So we also have to think of what is the social distance wa wale ambao lazima hao watoto walemavu wanaoshwa.
At Kobathole roadblock in Kiambu County, residents opine that the move will help cushion the deteriorating economy.
Kuna nini wamefunga biashara? Watu wengi wamefunga biashara. Kwa hivyo watu walitarajia kwamba atafungua. Tulitarajia pia angefungua mpaka saa 4 ama saa 5 ili watu wafanya biashara kidogo.
In the meantime, Bishop Samuel Njiriri of Stewards Pentecostal Revival say the decision by President Uhuru Kenyatta to institute consultations on the protocols to reopen churches is encouraging.
Tukiambiwa kanisa lifunguliwe lakini tuambiwe ni watu fulani wataingia, hakuna watu ambao wanaweza kutii sheria kama watu wa Mungu. Kwa hivyo ningetaka niombe rais wetu, ikifika hiyo siku ambao amesema viongozi wa kidini, tuitwe tupeane maoni yetu na pia kanisa la Mungu liweze kufunguliwa.
And as places of worship gear up for reopening, Bishop Njiriri noted that all the clerics are on hand to ensure strict adherence to the precautionary guidelines issued by the government.
Tunaona bars zimefunguliwa, kuna mahali tunakuta watu wengi tunawaona, na tunaona hata matatu, tunaona supermarket. Ikiwa hawa wote wanatii, je, watu ambao wamejawa na Roho Mtakatifu wa Mungu wanaweza kutii mara 100?
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
Noah Tanki, you're watching from Narok, and then Joshua Munguru Ishmael, you're watching Channel 1 Weekend kutoka Kisii, Tom Datom, Makueni County, Gideon Koech, you're also watching Channel 1 Weekend, watching live from Bomet County, Enoch Boss, Enoch, and Dr. Mutua Richard, you're watching from Kitui County. Jonas Kibe, you're also watching from Moi University, thank you. And Alfred Kasaya, you are also watching from Kisumu Public Works. Mary Atieno, tell us where you're watching Channel 1 Weekend from. On Twitter at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free to engage us this night. Elsewhere, it was reprieve for residents at the city's Eastleigh estate as the cessation of movement that had seen movement to and from the area restricted finally lifted. President Uhuru Kenyatta had on Saturday lifted the order, citing reduction in numbers of new COVID-19 infections that had prompted the government to impose the radical measures.
Movement into and out of Eastleigh area of Nairobi and the specific limitations in force with respect to the Old Town area of Mombasa that is currently in force shall lapse at 4 a.m. on the 7th of June 2020.
Just a few hours after President Kenyatta issued the directive, Eastleigh roared back to life after a month-long location by the cessation of movement in an area whose inhabitants are renowned for their industry. With barriers controlling movement to the area now removed, businesses are slowly opening up. For Ahmed Baraf, who runs a shoe business at a mall shopping mall, the president's directive has had a positive effect on his business.
At least sahi ni for. Lakini zamani ngumu kabisa.
Sentiments shared by Eugene Angawa, whose business is located just a few meters away.
Nimeona hii change, kuna changes. Naona hata watu wameanza kupita pita. Hata kwa ilikuwa ni yani kabla mtu aingie kwa duka manze, ilikuwa ina take time sana.
For small business owners who relied on Eastleigh for their hand-to-mouth hustles, opening up of the area has given them a chance to make a decent living.
Biashara ilikuwa wakati huo kulikuwa huwezi fanya kwa sababu tulikuwa hatuwezi kuruhusiwa kuingia, lakini kwa saa hii tumeingia, tunaona kidogo at least tunapata unga ya ugali.
So unaona wakifunga hapa, walifunga mambo mengi kwa sababu watu wote wa Mathare, Kiambio, Dandora, Kariobangi, wote like 3/4 wanakuja kufanya kazi Eastleigh and their daily bread.
Following the president's order to end the restriction of movement in and out of the area of Eastleigh, residents and businessmen are now keen to return their lives back to normal in the days to come. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
And in Mombasa, President Uhuru Kenyatta's directive that saw lifting of cessation of movement in Mombasa's Old Town appears to have given the historical town a new lease of life. Channel 1's Ann Buru toured the region and its environs and samples the reactions of the locals on the latest development.
For about a month, residents of Mombasa Old Town were left to struggle with the effects of a cessation of movement directive that was meant to contain the new COVID-19 infections that were rapidly spreading in the region. Sunday morning, and it was a relief for the residents after President Kenyatta announced the lifting of the ban on movement on Saturday.
Furaha kubwa sana kwa vile tumeona mitaa yetu yamefunguliwa tena. Mimi ni mmoja wapo ambao nimekuwa locked out from my family, na leo naweza kwenda meet my family because of the announcement of yesterday.
Watu wa Old Town tunamshukuru sana, maana kwa watu wapata tabu sana.
As for the varying of curfew hours from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., the business community say it will revive their fortunes that had been hit hard by the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic.
Kwa sasa hiyo curfew kuwa extended pia at least tumepata hata kama ni masaa matatu forward ama masaa manne tutaweza kumake profit. Asante sana Bwana Uhuru.
Jana after president announce turudi job, tulifurahia sana. Na ndio manake tuko hapa, at least Mungu atatusaidia, tutaendelesha maisha yetu vizuri.
Meanwhile, roadblocks erected at Shanzu and Mtwapa Bridge are still in place and only essential service providers are allowed in and out of Kilifi County.
Unajua sasa vile ilifunguliwa jana, kuna Wakenya wengi hawakuelewa. Tunasumbuana nao hapa sana kwa baria, wakisema mbona mnatuzuia na mpaka ilifunguliwa jana. Lakini ile ilifunguliwa ni Kilifi na Kwale. Mombasa hakuna movement yoyote inatakana.
This even as residents of the county and those working in both Mombasa and Kilifi counties expressed divergent opinions over the latest directive.
Hapa Kilifi umefunguliwa, au wendi Kwale, na hiyo Kwale ndio imefunguliwa, utafly ama utafanya nini ndio ufike Kwale? So unaona, we as people of Kilifi and Kwale, there's no difference, kama vile ilikuwa tu.
Kilifi County hatuna namba, hesabu ya corona hakuna sana, lakini Mombasa bado na namba inaendelea kupanda. Kwa hivyo tunaomba waendelee, lakini sasa wasiendelee sana.
Yes, angefungua at least mpaka Mombasa, manake wengi tunaishi Mtwapa, tunafanya biashara Mombasa County.
For Channel 1 News Hour Weekend from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
Thank you so much, Anburu from Mombasa County. Remember, the CS says don't relax on those guidelines as long as the easing of restrictions has been lifted. Don't imagine that coronavirus has come to an end in your area. Take care of yourselves and follow the guidelines provided by the Minister of Health. A survey released this Sunday indicates that Kenyans have confidence on the measures put in place by the government to curb the spread of coronavirus pandemic. The report, authored by InfoTrack Research and Consulting Firm, says 71% of Kenyans are in support of government's containment measures, even as they expressed fears that corruption and ignorance among Kenyans could compromise the efforts.
It has been a new normal for Kenyans since the first COVID-19 case was reported in the country, with the government implementing a raft of measures to contain the spread of the deadly virus. And even after President Uhuru Kenyatta sustained and relaxed some of the measures in his address on Saturday, it appears that the measures have the approval of Kenyans. In the poll conducted between 28th of May and 2nd of June this year, and involving 1,203 respondents, the firm cites that ignorance of Kenyans on following COVID-19 directives, as well as corruption, could act to derail efforts aimed at fighting the pandemic.
7% of Kenyans want government to still address that issue. In April, we had 55% who were concerned about COVID-19 as an issue that government should handle as a matter of priority. Food security is still very high at 45% and is the second, most burning issue of priority. And the third issue that Kenyans want government to deal with is unemployment.
50% of those interviewed feel corruption, inadequate healthcare facilities, failure of Kenyans to adhere to COVID-19 directive could cost Kenyans in the event the pandemic peaks.
Percent still feel that, access to healthcare is something that government should look into, both with regards to, access to healthcare should anyone get the coronavirus, but also with regards to access to healthcare now that health institutions seem to be dealing more with the coronavirus than anything else.
According to the report, 45% of Kenyans want the government to focus on minimizing the COVID-19 spread. A further 45% want the issue of food security addressed, while 35% want the government to focus on dealing with unemployment to enable Kenyans to fend for themselves during the pandemic.
The question that, we see coming up in the findings that we got when we asked people about curfew is that which one is more important? Is it life above livelihood or the vice versa? And it's a chicken and egg situation, especially in the developed world, where the economies that we have cannot support, situations where we have people not going to work at all.
Providing water that would allow Kenyans to follow the regular hand-washing guidelines, reduction of the high cost of living, and healthcare are some of the areas Kenyans want addressed. The bulk of those interviewed feel a reopening of bars and restaurants, police brutality, reluctance of people to get tested, unclear protocols and stigmatization of coronavirus survivors may hinder the fight against coronavirus. Eastern, Nairobi, Central, Northeastern, Western and the coast regions top in the list of regions where Kenyans feel they'll not make ends meet if the virus persists. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
And calls are being made to the government and Kenyans of goodwill to have a structured plan to assisting the most vulnerable persons in the community as COVID-19 pandemic bites. The said groups have been hit hard by the effects of the pandemic that is devastating the world. Amid these calls, a number of well-wishers made donations of food and non-food items to the needy, even as fears mount that majority of them are living in environments where they can be easily exposed to the contagion. Beatrice Gatonyengetich reports.
A damp and visibly dejected amputee who has gone through life-threatening health challenges is appealing for support, particularly food, wheelchair and special footwear donations. 60-year-old Oyagi Sangara, whose 2 limbs were amputated in a hospital 22 years ago, made the appeal, noting that this period of crisis is posing a major challenge to his well-being.
Viongozi hapa Kisii pamoja na wanakijiji wamsaidie huyu mzee apate wheelchair, angalau wheelchair ama vile viatu speciali vya kumsaidia aweze kutembea vizuri, asidungwe na mawe. Pia upande wa chakula ningependa kufanya appeal pia, kama uko na uwezo na umeguzwa na hii historia yake, ukaweza kumsaidia chakula, akaweza kujikimu kimaisha.
In the meantime, it has emerged that majority of Kenyans floated self-distancing directives on Saturday as they anticipated lifting of curfew and movement restrictions instituted by government to curb the spread of COVID-19. In Utawala, a ward representative was arrested alongside 11 other Kenyans on Saturday night for floating these guidelines when they were caught at an entertainment joint drinking past curfew hours. Meanwhile, a section of transport stakeholders in the coastal region have castigated Transport Cabinet Secretary James Mashari's handling of affairs in the sector. The group claims that under CS Mashari's leadership, the sector appears directionless, citing challenges faced by truck drivers in the ongoing fight against coronavirus pandemic.
Tuna demand na tunataka Bwana Macharia ajiuzulu haraka iwezekanavyo. Na kama hatajiuzulu, Rais achukue hatua iwezekanavyo kumuondoa kazi Bwana Macharia kwa kutosema ukweli, kwa kusingizia madereva kwamba wako na COVID, kuzingizia visingizio vingi kuhamisha uchumi wa Mombasa kupeleka sehemu nyingine.
Elsewhere, over 15 girls from Amukura North Ward, Teso South in Busia County had a reason to smile after a well-wisher donated the much-needed sanitary towels and face masks. The region has experienced a number of schoolgirls being lured to early marriages and pregnancies during the current period of COVID-19 pandemic.
Wahisani ambao wanaweza kunisaidia, kama wanaweza ungana na mimi pamoja, tuweze kusaidia mtoto msichana asijiingize kwa hizi hatari mingi.
In Turkana, journalists based in the county received donations of protective gears and foodstuffs from Media Council of Kenya to help cushion them during this period of COVID-19 pandemic. As essential service providers and counted as part of frontline workers, MCK says the scribes are also in need of aid in moments of crisis.
Sasa wakati ambapo kunakuwa na uhaba wa chakula ama panapotokea changamoto ya maji ama chakula katika eneo hili, tunashindwa kuelewa. Watu wanadhani wana habari kuna sehemu wanapata yao, yani zile changamoto ambazo wananchi wanapitia hapa, sisi ndio tunapitia zaidi. Kwa tunashukuru kwa shirika la habari, mashirika ya habari na baraza la habari kwa ujumla kuweza kutukumbuka.
And a section of leaders and business people have lauded President Kenyatta's move to adjust curfew time, further reiterating that the new COVID-19 directives will turn around their businesses' fortunes and stimulate the stalled economic growth. Led by Public Service, Youth and Gender Chief Administrative Secretary Rachel Shebesh, the group said pronouncements by the president are well informed and called on Kenyans of goodwill to rally behind government's fight against the pandemic.
In this time of the pandemic, the government has put all necessary measures to cushion Kenyans. But as we are cushioning Kenyans, Kenyans must also cushion themselves. And so we're asking again the Kenyans to meet us halfway. When the president tells you, sanitize, put on a mask, keep social distancing, he's not doing to punish you. We are not closing schools to punish our children. We are not closing places of worship to punish our citizenry. We are doing it to save your lives.
Beatrice Getonyenge-Tich, Channel 1 News.
The virus pandemic has seen the world struggle to adapt to the new normal, introducing strict rules to guide the implementation of containment measures aimed at containing its spread. But even as efforts to fight the virus intensify across the globe, a section of the world population continues to defy these guidelines with reckless abandon.
They shake and dance without a care. It's a frenzy. Just to be clear, this was taken after the government restricted gatherings and shut down social joints. To them, they have thrown all care to the wind. This group of carefree individuals in the face of adversity is what has become known as COVIDiots. But they're not the only ones. Here's another group of revelers who were arrested on the 5th of May for breaking the ban on social gatherings. Some of these occurrences have resulted to a cat-and-mouse chase between civilians and the police. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
And thank you so much for staying with us. Al Namoy Pundit, you're watching from Kericho County. Alphonse Toyo saying, may this pandemic end earlier for the normal continuity of people's activities. And then still on Twitter, we have Oyango Gideon, you're saying, I'm watching live from Kisumu County. Thank you for watching. And finally, we have Oliver Bet, you're watching from Baringo County. Keep talking to us. And of course, keep tweeting on Facebook. Also, you can write your message. I'll be viewing your feedback. Remember, tonight on Family Matters, celebrating the female cancer survivors. Today, the country was celebrating or marking the 3rd annual National Cancer Survivors Day, and a call to celebrate the lives of these survivors. We want to remember the female cancer survivors. On the show tonight is Sally Agallo. Sally is both cervical cancer survivor and colon cancer survivor. And then Lucien Jerry, who is a breast cancer survivor. They will be sharing with us their experiences, especially during this time that the country is fighting the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has altered the way we live, creating a new reality which has forced the population to process grief amid an uncertain future. With strict containment measures, it has become impossible for those who have lost their loved ones to get social support from their friends and relatives during the grieving period. But how do we practice the rituals that help us process the difficult emotional journey with no access to typical kinds of grief support? Take a look.
How to grieve? You can, because we use physical contact with the person who, you come see them, maybe you talk to them. Now that you can't do that, you can replace with their photos. If you have photos of that person, talk to that photo. Imagine that photo represents the body of that person to help you achieve closure. If you don't grieve, your mind will not shut that chapter that the person is no longer gone. And you find yourself still lingering and not believing they are gone. You can find yourself dreaming with them, calling them, talking about them as if they are around. Use their photos and accept that they are gone. Sometimes you can hang the photo somewhere or put them on your phone. And you have written there, rest in peace. Say it's been, go well. Write those words. Force your mind to face the pain. Don't use this distance. Don't allow this distance to disconnect you so much that you don't process the emotion of loss.
It's time for us now to take a first commercial break. Remember, we still have plenty more to come, including the update on the floods that continue to wreak havoc in some parts of this country. Do stay with us for that and much more.
Top on Channel 1. Yote aliye na kinga hafifu mwilini yuko katika hatari ya kuambukizwa COVID-19.
Really want to do this? Then why don't you take us with you? I shall have to go alone from here. Acharya!
COVID-19 inazuilika. Jilinde, linda familia na jamii.
Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu. Mimi ni Mama Kayai. Niko hapa kuwaelezea habari ya huu ugonjwa huko. Mimi naomba tafadhali wa Kenya, tusikizeni serikali. Serikali inatuambia tukae ndani ya manyumba kuanzia saa 1 jioni mpaka saa 11:30 asubuhi. Alafu kama hauna shughuli mchana, tafadhali kaa kule mtaani na wenzako, ukae vile vile tumeelezewa. Sheria lazima ifuatwe. Tutasaidia sisi wenyewe kutokupata huu ugonjwa.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. The ongoing floods affecting parts of the country has left devastation and anguish threatening the livelihoods of thousands of its victims. Such has been the case in Alego, Usonga and Bundalangi, where weeks of flooding have seen homes, roads and food crops destroyed, leaving behind scenes resembling war zones. Channel 1 Simon Achola toured the region and documents the anguish of a person or a people whose hopes hinges on the commitment of those in authority to change the narrative of the natural phenomenon that continues to wreak havoc in the region.
Tunataka suluhu la kudumu. Hatutaki tuwe tunarudi hapa kuleta chakula. Tunataka tuzuie maji haya yasije kwa maboma yenu, kuangusha nyumba, kuharibu mimea yenu, sababu ninyi ni watu wa bidii. Nyinyi mnalisha Kenya, lakini mvua ikija ni baraka, ikizidi ni balaa.
Ndio kwa sababu nikiwa mwenyekiti wa Lake Region Economic Block, hapa mahali tunakuja pamoja kaunti 14. Tuliketi na ndugu yangu Eugene Wamalwa na akakubali aongee na serikali kuu na rais wasaidie watu wetu.
This is part of Alego Songa and Budalangi constituencies. The devastation caused by recent floods quite visible as locals begin the onerous task of rising from the ruins. River Nzoia calmly meanders through villages in Alego Songa all the way to Budalangi constituency. Besides it, a newly rehabilitated dike is visible, the two living beside each other for decades. However, occasional confrontation has always left the villagers in despair. But since 1961, no confrontation has seen adverse effects as one witnessed over the last 1 month.
Uharibifu ulioko kule chini ni mkubwa. Uharibifu umetangamana na maboma, mashamba, wanyama wale ambao walikuwa wanaweka, mashule yote yameharibika, hospitali yetu ingine yameharibika, na pia mahali wameweza kukaa kama huku juu pia kuna utumivu ambao unataka msaada.
This was the situation as the river burst its banks, submerging the villages in the lowlands of Alego Songa and Budalangi. Homes, roads, schools, police stations, and even hospitals all submerged. Events on the first day of flooding still vivid.
Alafu dakika ya mwisho mvua ikaanza, tukaona kama hiyo river hatukujua kama inaweza fika huko, sababu inakuja inafika pale ikienda Budalangi, lakini fika usiku hatukuona chochote, ikakuja ikafika kwa mama pale nyuma chini, na leo inakuja pengine itakuharibia. Hatukuamini. Kufika saa 3 imefika hapa na force mingi, tukaona maji mejaa hapa, ikaanza
The water levels in River Nzoia have gone back to normal. In fact, one can clearly tell the course of the river, and with that, many would say it is the perfect cue for the locals to go back to their homes. Yes, indeed, it is the perfect cue. But most of the locals have no place to go back to. Their homes were swept away by the raging floods. Mzee Charles Otiaro Ojuaya, like many other locals, is counting losses running into millions of shillings. In his home, only 2 houses stood the tide, the rest too weak to hold.
Tunatoa vitu vingi vilipotea ndani ya maji. Vikisombwa kama viato nini, vitu vingi kama kuku, vingine ilikufia hapo kwa maji. Mingi sana. Hapo tu ndio niliona. Sasa niliona ajabu hii maji kutoka nizaliwe. Ndio nimeona hii maji kama hii. Sababu raundi ya kwanza ilijaa mwaka 61. Nilikuwa bado kijana. Ya pili ikaja nikiwa boma hii sasa. Hii ni raundi ya 3, ya 4. Ya kwanza ilijaa ikatoka, ikashiwa namna hii, ikajaa ikamaliza siku moja ikaenda. Ya pili namna hiyo, ya 3. Sasa hii ya 4 ndio imefuja rekodi sasa. Imeanguza manyumba yote, ile ilikuwa yangusi nyumba. Hii imeanguza manyumba yote kuanzia hapa hii 1, 2, 3 mpaka hii kapa nyumba 7 hii. Jokoni tukihesabu hii nyumba 7 yote imeanguka chini. Sasa bile sina nguvu kama ya kujenga, kama msaada inaweza toka kama kwa serikali inisaidie.
His neighbor Shadrack Otieno Makalama too bore the brunt of the floods. He has started rebuilding his home, but literally wonders where the resources will come from to ensure all his children and grandchildren can enjoy warm nights again. He is putting up in a tent for now. His house not a priority.
Hii nyumba kujenga sikupenda kwetu. Hata wewe unaweza kuwa na mtoto, uko na watoto wajukuu. Badala watoto wakiwa pale mama, hii watoto yako wasiwe wakiwa pale, watu weke kakitu kidogo, badala wewe kwa baridi wakae pale. Ndio nani nyumba na ile. Tuko na wajukuu hapa, fadhali tuwaweke mahali kidogo ya mabati tu, wawe pale na sisi tulale nje. Kwanza sisi wenyewe tunalala kwa shule. Umama yote kwa hii boma wanalala shuleni. Sisi wanaume tulala kwa hii boma. Kama mimi nalala kwa ile tandarua, unaona tandarua ile kwa nyuma. Mimi naishi huko. Mwingine yuko pale. ndio nyumba hii ya mabati juu watoto kidogo, kama yule iko watoto hapa kidogo kidogo atakuja, bali na umbu na nini tuwawekee nyumba pale.
The two villagers fear, apart from the rebuilding task that is before them, food insecurity is likely to bite even harder in the coming days. Talking about food is not just the subsistent crop farmers. Here at Bunyala Irrigation Scheme, thousands of rice farmers are counting huge losses.
We had projected, we normally work on a continuous production system, whereby every month of the year we have close to 2,000 bags, 2,500 bags ready for the market. So we are going to have about 6 months or 5 months where we will not have a crop. We are not able to service the market that we are having. We not have the farmers are not having any production that is going on. We're still now doing a crop afresh. So for the next 4 months, if the farmer did not have a store, has not stored, because normally we have continuous production. So if there is continuous production, it makes people know tomorrow there is food. They can buy from those who are producing, even if I'm not producing myself. But for the next 4 or 5 months, we will not have any production. So that period is likely to impact on the local community, because this scheme is the one that services the entire Budalangi constituency in terms of labor and all those production that come from here.
And it's not just crops. Milling machines were also submerged in the raging floods. According to the scheme's manager, Engineer Edwin Manyonge, insurance of crops is among issues under consideration to help avert losses on farmers, especially if similar catastrophes occur in future.
The loss that has been incurred is direct loss to the farmer. So, and you are looking at a situation where the same farmer, he's lost his family, his house. If he had, some of them have lost their animals, they were swept away by water. So we are looking at a long-term problem. It's not a problem that we can solve immediately, because those farmers currently are more preoccupied by rebuilding their homes than a few of them that were not severely affected are the ones that are already back into the field. But majority of them are now preoccupied with rebuilding their homes.
Busia County Governor's Hospital Jamong says while his government is asking for well-wishers and non-governmental organizations to come to the aid of those affected, his government will, in the next financial year, prioritize rebuilding the livelihoods of those affected by the floods.
Wakati tunatengeneza bajeti yetu, nyinyi wenyewe hapa mkiwa hapa ni wakazi wa Busia County, MCAs watakuja kuona kwamba priority yenu yeye ambayo mnataka msaidiwe kupitia kwa hii pesa, kwa sababu hakutakuwa na faida ya kujenga lami kule Busia na hapa nyinyi mnaumia. Itakuwa faida kweli? Afadhali ile priorities mnayo mtapitishia kwa MCA, tutaenda huko tujadili kwa assembly, tuone watu ya Bunyala sawa. Ile kitu muhimu wanataka ni mabati ili wajenge manyumba. Ile kitu muhimu wanataka ni mbegu waweze kuwa na chakula na vitu zingine ambayo mtaprioritize hapa.
He however wants long-term solutions to the perennial flooding in the region, sentiments echoed by leaders drawn from other flood-prone areas in the region. Achola Simon, reporting for Channel 1 Weekend from Busia County.
Kisumu County, painting a picture on what families affected by floods are going through. A lot of your feedback, especially in regard to that report by Simon Achola and Edgar. You're saying that's so sad. That's a true representation of the pain and anguish that those families are going through. I hope there's going to be a permanent solution. And Mary, you also saying that isn't there a solution to this? This problem keeps recurring. Godi wa Shinyalu, you're saying you're watching from Shinyalu. And then we also had Harrington Jenga, you're saying from Mahondo, Kakamega County, the government should help those people affected by the floods. For sure. Thank you for your feedback. Keep them coming. Let's now have a look at a different report. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops is calling for constructive engagements among families in the wake of increased conflicts resulting from the adverse effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking at the Holy Family Basilica during the Holy Mass, Bishop Norman Kingo Wambua said the family remains a critical fabric of the society and as such should be protected.
With the ban on social gatherings still in place, Kenyans will yet again follow Sunday services through social media platforms, radios and television.
Ajabu. Hapo ulipompeleka neno.
At the Holy Family Basilica, Bishop Norman Kingo Wambua of the Machakos Diocese will take the chance to advocate for unity of purpose.
Promotion of unity, cooperation, constructive communication, empathy, forgiveness, mutual understanding, appreciation and sheer enjoyment of one another's company are key to maintenance of a healthy and happy relationships.
In a message from the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, families will be urged to embrace constructive communication to avert disputes that have been on the rise during the COVID-19 confinement period.
Moment to rethink and reflect on the meaning and the values of a family and fruits of marriage, and to remember that daily love and forgiveness are the pillars of every family.
The bishops taking issues with alleged police brutality that has seen the country's security agents put on the spot of excess force committed while implementing containment measures issued by the government.
During curfew enforcement, let the law enforcers handle all situations in a humane way. Nevertheless, we encourage all Kenyans to be law-abiding citizens and to be each other's brothers and sisters' keeper, and avoid conflicting circumstances with the security agents.
At the All Saints Cathedral, messages of peace and hope characterize Sunday's service.
Our life should reflect the Trinity. Can you think of anything more wonderful than living a life with Jesus Christ in our lives, living with the love of Christ, the Spirit of Christ in us, living as co-creators with God?
Reverend Cyrus Manje, who was presiding over the service, calling on Kenyans to support vulnerable communities. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
It's now time for sports news. The National Olympic Committee of Kenya has today awarded scholarships to Kenyan athletes who will participate in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which were postponed to 2021 due to the coronavirus. The 2020 Olympic Games will be held after the 23rd of July to 8th of August 2021.
The National Olympic Committee of Kenya today awarded scholarships amounting to 2.4 million shillings to Kenyan athletes who will compete in the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics to be held from the 23rd of July to 8th August next year. NOC President Paul Tergat, who led the awarding of the scholarships in Kericho town, said the funds, which are from the African National Olympic Committee, will assist in athletes' preparations for the Summer Olympics.
We really want to prepare our sportsmen well. We take a good team so that they can be able maybe to go outside there and represent the country and give us more medals. That is what, and more so, especially that Kenya, we are known in terms of the world and also in Africa, that we are the giants in Africa when it comes to Olympics.
A total of 6 athletes from various parts of the country benefited from the 2.4 million shillings scholarships, with another round of 2.4 million shillings set to be given out after every 4 months. Athletics Kenya also unveiled masks to be distributed to athletes across the country in their fight against the spread of COVID-19.
As Athletics Kenya, today we are so delighted that we have done the unveiling of Athletics Kenya masks. And this is, we really want to show that we are supporting what the government of Kenya is doing. And during this period that we are all trying to fight Corona, and we have said as Athletics Kenya, we unveil our masks. we have given today to the southern region. It is we have the masks being distributed everywhere in the country today.
Meanwhile, 100 athletes from Machakos and Makueni County have received donations to sustain them during this tough time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Athletics Kenya Vice President Paul Mutui said the association will ensure no athlete suffers during these tough times of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ni kitu ya maana sana sababu wanariadha wengi hawakuangi na pesa za kujisaidia, na labda mtu tuseme kana binafsi ama tuseme ni idara fulani ama tuseme ni kikundi fulani kiko na uwezo wa kusaidia na kiko na huyo moyo wa kusaidia, sio kubeba hata kama ni pesa, kama ni chakula, kupelekea wanariadha pahali wamekusanyika.
Athletics Kenya also continue to stress that the federation will ensure the safe return of all athletes stranded outside the country.
Werder Bremen hopes of evading relegation in the 2019-2020 Bundesliga season took a major hit today after falling 1-0 to visitors Wolfsburg at the Wasser Stadium. In another match played today, Schalke played out a 1-1 draw away to Union Berlin. Here are some of the results from round 30 of the Bundesliga. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. That's it for sports news tonight, but not the end of Channel 1 Weekend, because we have a show lined up for you. Family Matters tonight. Sally Agalo, cervical and colon cancer survivor, and Lucine Jerry, who is a breast cancer survivor, are our guests tonight. And the World Health Organization has documented that people with pre-existing conditions such as cancer are at a risk of getting the coronavirus due to the compromised immunity. So as Kenya celebrated the 3rd annual National Cancer Survivors Day, we are celebrating the female cancer survivors tonight, just to get to hear what the new normal for them is like during this time. Keep talking to us and tell us. Of course, join us as we listen to their stories and the struggle with COVID-19, the surviving stories of rather cancer and breast cancer survivor Lucine Jerry will also be sharing with us her experiences and what are some of the changes she has had to make during this time. Let me sample a few of your feedback before I see you on the other side of the show. Simon Mosemi, you're watching Channel 1 Weekend, and then tuned from Lower Kabete, Simon. Once again, Opio Polycarp, you said you almost missed the show due to KPLC. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your feedback. Keep talking to us and keep watching the show, because Family Matters is coming up shortly, of course, after the weather forecast by my colleague Irene Muchuma Odim. See you on the other side of the break.
Great, a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. Hope you had a beautiful Sunday. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. It is one of those nights that most parts of the country will experience partly cloudy conditions, save for a few areas over the Lake Basin region, as well as the northwestern parts of the country, including Lodwar, where we're expecting showers over a few places. Monday morning, most parts of the country will be characterized by sunny conditions, save for Nyeri, Meru, and Nairobi, where the early morning will be cloudy. In Lamu, Mombasa, and Malindi, we're expecting wet conditions of a few places equally to the Lake Basin region, and also in Lodwar, we're expecting rains of a few places during the morning hours. Come in the afternoon, the rain intensity over the Lake Basin region will persist, and residents in Kisii, Bomet, and Nandi, as well as Kakamega, will experience showers which will be accompanied by thunderstorms over several places, Similarly, for you in Lodwar, we're expecting wet conditions to persist and also at the coastal strip. Sunny conditions will continue over Mandera and Marsabit. Temperatures have slightly gone down in the capital. We're expecting maximum of 25 degrees Celsius and lows of 15 degrees Celsius. The highest temperatures across the country will be experienced in Mandera, and that will be at 36 degrees Celsius. That is how weather patterns are shaping up in the home country. Let's now cross the borders and see how events will unfold for other parts of the world. Do have a good night and a blessed day ahead.
Juzi mimi ninakuja, ninatoka nje, ninawacha simu hapo. Nikirudi kutoka raundi napata 4 miss call ya kutoka kwa bibi. Nikimuuliza ulikuwa unapiga unasema nini? Ananiambia eti alikuwa ananipigia, aniambie nimesahau simu.
Kupata missed call, bonyeza *811 *967 hash. Bonyeza *811
Kumbe bibi ananipenda.
On the next episode of Corner.
Daddy, tell mommy how you made me feel better yesterday.
Naona kuna kitu kinakusumbua. You can trust me.
We have to do something about Abasi. For how long is he going to get away doing things like this?
Ukitaka kujua dancing moves, unakuja weekend.
Na wewe unajuaje hayo mambo?
Dad went to the grave thinking that I'd thrown that fight. I wish he was there to see me win this time.
You've got to aim higher. Are you willing to do that?
Just you and I.
It's the Sundowner.
Mother, how are you today?
La 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 la.
Join the caravan of love, the Sunset Love, Sundowner on KBC English Service. Sundowner, celebrating love and life.
And welcome to our show tonight. You're watching Family Matters. My name is Purity Museo. Globally, cancer, or let's say cancer, is the second leading cause of death globally, and about 9.6 million deaths were recorded at least in 2018. That's according to the World Health Organization. And during this time of COVID-19, the World Health Organization has pronounced that people with pre-existing conditions such as cancer are at a risk of contracting the virus, that is COVID-19. And today, the country was celebrating the 3rd annual National Cancer Survivors Day. And the theme was celebrating life, of course, celebrating the lives of cancer survivors during this time. Let's now get to understand what cancer survivors are going through and what has changed for them during this time when guidelines on COVID-19 are essential and crucial in the prevention of the virus. My guest tonight next to me is Lucy Njeri, who is a breast cancer survivor. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for your time. All right. And then at the far end is the lovely Sally Agalo, who is both a cervical and colon cancer survivor. We are celebrating you, Sally, and thank you so much for making time for our show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I know you are part of the Cancer Survivors Association today. I know the celebration was a bit different because of the coronavirus and the ban on social gatherings.
Yeah, it was very different. We only were 15 of us just to mark the day. And distribute a few masks and the sanitizers for the survivors.
Yeah, and how about for the other? Because I know there is quite a number of cancer survivors in the country. Were you probably taking the gifts to their homes, or what will happen?
Yeah, so personally as a patient advocate, I am equally affected because I'm exposed.
Yeah.
I already have a low immune system and I have to bring these masks to them, to their homes. So it's just by the grace of God, because we have to do it as leaders of these patients.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Lucy, thank you for coming to the show. Were you part of the celebrations today?
Not today, but yesterday we did it virtually. We had it through online because we've been told to keep distance and to mind our immunity. So today we had very few, I think 15, who went for the celebrations. Others we did it online.
Yeah.
But we are happy. It's our day, and at least I'm happy to say that Mutahi Kagwe recognized today is our day in his briefing today.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And Sally, as we celebrate cancer survivors today during this third annual celebration, was the message a little bit different and linked to the prevention and taking a caution to protect yourselves from coronavirus?
Yeah, because already life has been difficult, just going through sickness. A lot of us are still going through treatment, and that already is an issue. So now with COVID, it's now even worse. And so we have to really take precautions, and a lot of people are even scared to go out of their houses, and some are calling their doctors from the homes to find out, is it really necessary for me to come to the hospital, or should I just maybe do something? And I've seen a lot of people who have to postpone their appointments, maybe from the doctor's advice, or even just their own. They feel they are not so badly off, so they can. I have two friends who have asked their surgeons to postpone their surgeries because it's not really urgent for them to do it right now.
Yeah. And Sally, most people think that cancer, or by the mention of cancer, that's a death sentence. You told me you're both a colon and cervical cancer survivors.
Yes.
Let's hear your story. How did it begin?
Yeah, so it began with cervical cancer in 2007, and then I had what is called total hysterectomy. That's removal of my uterus and all that. But unfortunately, after 3 years, I got a recurrence in the colon, and I got what is called a colostomy. And life has not been easy, I must say. As much as I've survived, life has not been easy. But I'm here to share my story and inspire people that life can go on even after all this diagnosis. So I survived, and I say that I lead a support group for both cervical and colon, and I inspire the new ones who come and think that, okay, now I have cancer, so what next for me? So when they hear my story, a lot of them have said, okay, if you survived, then why should I lose hope? So my message to all these people is that we should keep hope alive. It wasn't easy though, because one, I thank God that I was privileged. I was working for an organization that would pay for me my medical bills. But if I got cancer today, God forbid, I don't know how I would survive. Because one of the things that is killing people is the psychological bit. The moment you are told cancer, then the financial aspect comes in, that now, okay, I will need a lot of money, millions maybe, to treat myself. And then you start losing friends. Slowly you start losing people, because they know that once they get your phone call, you'll be asking for money. So that is one thing. Another thing is that your life changes completely. You're not able to do your work because you're going through the treatment maybe, so you're fatigued all the time. And for me, after going through colon cancer, I was left with a condition called colostomy, which I need to use a special bag every day. And it costs between 600 and 1,000 shillings. So that's another thing again. So all this put together, it affects someone psychologically. But I've conquered all this, just hearing other people's experiences, just meeting in support groups and sharing has really been my inspiration, and of course my trust in God.
All right,
yes.
And you've tried to summarize your journey with both cervical and colon cancer, but I'll be getting back to especially more on the treatment journey.
Exactly.
How about you, Lucy? You are a breast cancer survivor. When were you diagnosed with breast cancer, and what did the doctors say? Did you experience any of the symptoms that doctors say are symptoms of breast cancer?
For me, it was very different. For one, I had just stopped nursing my 1.5-year-old child, and my breast continued to produce milk, which is not normal. when you stop breastfeeding, the brain is supposed to tell the hormones to stop producing milk. So it continued for like 3 months, and then I developed a lymph node under my armpit. And the first hospital I went to, they told me it's just because you've stopped nursing the small baby, and with time it will clear. But I didn't take it lightly. I went to a second hospital, and they told me that it's fibroadenoma, some fats that are in the breast, and it's just a surgery which will be done locally, and nothing to worry about. But it hit me so hard, the reason why my mom was ailing from cancer. So I was like, let me be a bit cautious with this so that I don't mess or it be misdiagnosed, and then later I'll be sorry for myself. Then when I went for the surgery, when the doctor went in, he said, it's not what we thought it was. It was done locally, so I could hear them talking. And then they took a small piece of biopsy, and they took it to Lancet. And I was to it for 5 working days. After 5 working days, I went for my results. And she just printed and gave me the results and the envelope. What do you do? I'd been Googling, I'd been reading, I've been like, what is this that is in my breast? And I saw that it's ductal carcinoma. And I think that day I cried my whole heart out. I was not ready for it. I was not cancelled. It was just a bombshell, pop. After a while, I thought of suicide. I had seen my mom waste through the treatment. But then I decided, let me take it on. And that's when I went to Kenyatta. I was booked in for mastectomy, and my breast was removed. 6 sessions of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And as Sally's talking about treatment, most of the people get the shock because of the cost of treatment.
Let me get to Sally, and then we talk about the treatment.
Okay.
She's talking about a bombshell. Like she was not,
Yes.
she was, the way the news were broken to her was, according to her, inappropriate. Probably you can share with us your experience, and how did you receive the news that it's cervical cancer?
The same thing happened to me. Actually, I didn't have any symptom at all. So there was this campaign of, women, we are told that we are encouraged to do pap smear at least every year just to confirm whether you're okay. So I didn't go, and I did go, and it was just a normal screening. And I'm called back to the hospital that, please, you have to come back. And so I went, and I'm just told you have cervical cancer stage 2, and we have to do hysterectomy, total hysterectomy. And I had lost 2 babies, so I was like, what are you talking about? But the doctor was in a rush, like, we have to do this because you already have immunosuppression and this will spread. So it came as a shocker again, and I didn't take it lightly. I went into depression, and for 2 months, I didn't want to talk to anyone, but of course, as anyone else, I went through first, second, third consultation from other doctors to see if the opinions was going to be different, but it was all the same. So after 2 months, my husband and I decided to sign the consent and go into theater, and the operation is done. But true, the way the news was broken to me was not very pleasant, and it affected me psychologically. For a very long time, I didn't recover.
Yeah.
Even now, when people talk about kids and we're in a support group of people who've gone through cervical cancer, so when everyone shares their experience, sometimes I break down, even after all these years. So it really affected me, but I thank God for friends and counselors who stood with me to just take me through the journey.
Yeah,
yes.
And the treatment after the surgery, of course, the doctors had assured you that now you will be out of danger.
Exactly.
But again, you're talking about the cancer spreading to the colon, and now you are again diagnosed with colon cancer. After how long? After what period of time did the doctors discover that the cancer had spread to the colon?
So what happened when I got the cervical cancer, I was told that because it's just concentrated in one place, if they do that total hysterectomy, removal of everything, then I should be fine. And I was fine, actually. So I went on for the checkups. For 3 years, I was fine. But suddenly, one of the days I go and I'm told, oh, unfortunately, the cancer has recurred on the colon. So we have to take and the doctors, the way they just talk casually, like, the colon is so long, so we'll just take the size of a ruler and a half and you'll be fine. And this continued, and it went to my rectum, and all this had to be removed. I didn't take it lightly, but anyway, I was told that cancer has 3 types of treatment. So there's chemo, radio, and surgery. Because you have a low immune system, we just go the surgery way. So I went I went through a lot of pain, but eventually I'm fine today, 10 years down the line.
Okay.
Yes.
And you'll tell us how fine you are.
Yeah,
Lucy,
sure.
you're saying that you went into depression, but then you said you will take it up. Take us through your treatment journey for breast cancer.
Okay. When the biopsy was out and it was confirmed that it was ductal carcinoma, I was booked for mastectomy, and they did total mastectomy. So they removed the whole breast. So today, I'm a proud woman of one breast. I usually say this because we have people who don't have both. So at least I got one and I'm alive. And we have people who had both and they resisted treatment and they're no longer with us. And I went to Kenyatta for my treatment, for mastectomy, for chemotherapy. I went for 6 sessions and for radiotherapy. And for me, I had the NHIF card and it paid for me. I was very gracious to God because I had it and it was active, so it paid for me the whole treatment. But for the test, I had to pay cash. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. If it were not for the card, I think I could be. It could be another story because you're gone and you're told that surgery is this amount of money, and you go crazy. Where do you get the money from? It needs to be done immediately. You don't have to wait. And this issue of trying to raise money is a bit very, very difficult. So I usually encourage people, go for the NHIF card, register for don't wait until you fall sick. Do it now. And if you have it, don't complain that, oh, I've been putting money on the card, but I don't use it. I would rather that you contribute, it helps me and somebody else, rather than you fall sick, because it won't be sweet that since your salary has been cut, a chunk of money, and you're contributing and you're not falling sick, so it's unfair. No, at least you're helping somebody out there. So I did. I used my NHIF card, but for the tests and screening, it was cash. But today, I think it's a different story. But I usually advocate for people to go for the NHIF card. And when you're doing treatment and you have a small baby who is 1 year and a half, and the baby comes crying to you, the baby, of course, expects you to lift him up, but you can't. Why? Because you got a drainer and part of the lymph nodes have been removed. And you've been told by the doctors, don't overwork your left hand. If you do so, you'll get a lymphedema. So it was a bit challenging. And then you still continue to be somebody's wife. They'll ask for a shirt. They'll ask for a shoe. They'll ask for the trousers. Your kid, you have to cook for your kids. You don't stop being a mommy. You continue being a mommy. And even the community expects you to behave like somebody's wife. So if there was something that you are doing, they expect you to do, but it's not the same. It becomes very different. And from then, henceforth, I think I view life in a different way since I was struck by cancer. Very different.
All right. Sally, after they removed your uterus, they told you everything is going to be fine, and then cancer spreading to the colon. They again tell you, if we just cut this portion, you're going to be fine. Did you at some point have doubts that I think things are not getting better? You just telling this to console me, or where did you get this courage to pull through this from?
Actually, it wasn't easy at the beginning, and I just went numb when I got that information, and I was actually resisting that. How many parts of my body will be removed, because I've already lost all this, and then you're still telling me this. But I got assurance that there are people who have gone through this procedure and they are alive. But to be honest, just as Lucy said, I also went into depression. I got suicidal at some point, but after meeting many other people, then I said, okay, it's possible to live with this condition. But as a human being, of course, it really affected me at the beginning. Yeah.
And how did life change for you?
Life has changed completely. One of the things my husband took off, and I was traumatized, one. And my husband took off because now he couldn't live with a woman who can't give him children. So again, for me, I suffered stigma in that way, and now with this colostomy thing also, I have to use this special bag. It's very hard to keep disclosing to people that I'm using this bag. Sometimes we don't have it. Like now we're going to go into crisis because we get donations from Canada, and we're not sure even if it will gonna come, because we're not sure about the flights and everything that is happening now.
All right, and for you, you said that life changed completely. Let's come to now, right now, with the pandemic, coronavirus pandemic, and of course, experts saying if you have pre-existing conditions, you are at a risk of getting the infection, and and even as governments announce the people that have lost their lives, they had pre-existing conditions. How is this message to you as a survivor of cancer like? Is it kind of stressful, or how did this message that people who are being affected mostly by coronavirus have pre-existing conditions?
Wow. At first, it instilled fear.
Yeah.
Because you've been told to stay indoors. Don't move out. If you move out, be very cautious. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I was doing Tumba business. I could go for my merchandise at Kikomba and then come and vend around. But then after treatment, it had to change. For one, you've been told not to overwork your left hand. So I used to go for just some small merchandise and come and sell. But then with COVID, they marked open air market red. That was to say that Kikomba was a no-go zone for me, since I have the existing condition. So I had to look for a means of continue to survive, because as I have just told you, nothing comes to a standstill. Life has to go on. And we can't survive on handouts. Today I'll get from so-and-so, so-and-so, but then tomorrow they'll be tired, and still they're going through the same problem, because COVID is for everybody now. It's not only for us, it's for everybody. So I had to change. And then I started going for sweet potatoes at Mudhurwa at around 9, when the place is not densely populated. And then I come and sell in Kiambu, particularly I stay in Kirigiti. I got a small place, and that's where I vend my sweet potatoes. And I'm grateful I'm alive today. There are so many things that I would love and I would have wished, but I'm always grateful for each day. It's a new day for me. Each day is a blessing for me, because we've been told to count your blessing day by day. I could not have just stayed, and because when hunger comes, it doesn't know the boundaries, doesn't know that you have a condition or you don't have a condition. When your children demand for food, you have to put food on the table. And here you are fearing if you go out, you might catch the disease. But if you stay in, still you'll be hungry, you'll die of starvation. So I went out, but well-wishers have been reaching out to people. Let me say that. Well-wishers have been reaching out to people, and they have been giving out food. Personally, I'm also in a support group by the name CAC, and they've reached out to people, and they've given food. The women group in my church, CWA, they reached out. At least, you see, you are receiving a small support from those people, and you feel that those people are encouraging you. At least they're uplifting you. You don't remain that since you have the condition, you just stay there. No, they're uplifting you, and that shows that they are holding you back to the society. And when it comes to that, I was thinking the government should include all cancer patients for people living with disability.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Sally, you had mentioned that for colon cancer survivors, life somehow changes. You talked about stomach bags. Probably you can make us understand when you go through the colon cancer and now you have to get a portion of your colon cut. The issue of stomach bags, many people don't understand what exactly changes, and how do you use these stomach bags? Can you explain a little on that?
Yeah, so as we understand from biology is that the colon is the way for the passage of stool, and it comes out through the rectum. So if this section is affected by cancer, then that part is cut. So it means that the stool will not go through the same way. So a new way of the stool has to be created, and that new way is called a stoma. So what happens is that the surgeon makes a hole through the body, and brings out the intestine and sutures it on top of the skin to make a new hole for the passage of stool. So because it's not the normal way, it has to be covered all the time with a stoma bag. And maybe I'll show it later. So that hole has to be covered with the stoma bag.
Maybe
So
you can show as we explain.
Yes, I'll show that.
All right.
So that stoma bag has to be attached to the body 24/7. And that's what I'm talking about. That applies, we don't have it in the country. What we have from KEMSA it's not very good quality, and a lot of people are not able to use it. So we get very quality bags from friends in Canada. And now with this COVID, I recently spoke to them and they say they're not sure if they're gonna send them. And that means very soon we're going to go into crisis. And as a patient advocate, I don't know where I'll hide because everyone will be calling me, Sally, we need this, Sally, we need this. And so the next thing I'll say is Serikali's idea, because I can't do it, I can't handle it alone. Exactly.
So what has changed for you during these COVID-19 times and the government calling on people with pre-existing conditions to stay at home?
So for me as a patient advocate, it's not possible to stay at home because I'm getting all these phone calls from people who are weaker than I am, so I have to reach out to them. And one thing is that the cost of transport has also changed because now we have fewer people getting into public transport. So that means the cost is high. Already life was difficult going through cancer, and now with this COVID, it has even doubled. Another thing is people don't have food. And you know, people who've gone through cancer and all these other chronic conditions, their immunity is low, so you have to eat well, and you shouldn't miss a meal. And you find that because people can't go out to work and put food on the table, that's another thing. So there's a lot of emotional issues that people are going through, psychological issues, financial issues. So all this together has affected us. Yes.
All right, let's talk about the challenges cancer survivors are going through during this pandemic.
I'll take an example of myself at this particular time. I've just said that I switched to doing sweet potatoes. And that's why I was about to talk about the disability card. There is these Kanjo people. They'll come, and you've just laid your ware down there, and they start harassing you. What happens? You are like, now, do I fight the disease? Do I fight the pre-existing condition? Do I fight hunger? Do I fight the Kanjo people? That's why I was saying that, as Sally is saying, already she has her own form of disability. She's using the stoma bag, and they are very expensive to buy, as you said. One cost around 700 to 1,000 bob. If the government could include us in that list for people with disability and give us the card, it will be a bit easier for us even to lead a better life. One thing about cancer survivors, we are not lazy. We work very hard. Sally is telling you she can't stay indoors because she's receiving calls from people outside. I cannot also stay indoors. I have to do something. We have our survivors that are willing to work with their hands. So if we get that card, it will be a bit easier for us to access. And still on that, for social protection, I've gone to an office to ask for a bursary, and I told them that I'm alive, my husband is alive, but I need bursary for my child. And they tell me, no, we are just giving if those children are totally orphan or if they have one parent. And I'm like, no, I'm a cancer survivor, and I have this story. And they tell me, you don't look like one. So I had to remove my clothes and show them that I have got a scar, which sometimes is awkward, and you feel that your privacy is not, it is interfered with. So if I could be having that card and told them, look here, so and so, and this qualifies me, because we are very vulnerable. This particular time, we are very vulnerable, because like now, if I go out, and if she goes out, as she's telling you, she's going out for a goodwill, but then you don't know where you can catch the virus. So at least let us be put in the vulnerable people, and also be included in your jamii. If that person cannot go out to fend for themselves and they are very sick, and Sally cannot move out, let's say she can't move out, if that person was included in Inua Jamii, they could have gone and get the help there.
All right. And Sally, I know you have a stoma bag there. You want to illustrate a little bit on how it's used?
Yeah, so as I was saying, this is what is called a stoma bag.
Okay.
And it is used for collecting the stool. So as I said, our way of passage of stool is not the normal way. So this is the hole that the stomach goes into, or the intestine. So there's an adhesive here that you peel off this and you stick it to the body. So then the intestine goes in there, so stool comes in this bag. Once it is filled up, I have to remove it, change and put a new one. So this is what I'm talking about. We do not have these quality bags in the country. And if you're lucky to find one, it would cost you between 600 and 1,000 shillings. How many Kenyans can afford that? And what we're getting from the government, to be honest, I'm a Kenyan and I'm not shy to say this, it's not quality. We couldn't be sitting with you here, Purity, if I had that bag that we are being given from KEMSA. So this is what we need. And also I would like to say, as a patient advocate, that the government should involve us when making some of these decisions, because whatever they're giving and whatever we need is not very nice for us.
All right. And as we wind up the show, maybe what's your call? She's talked about the challenges that cancer survivors are going through because you are being told to stay indoors. You are at a risk of getting COVID-19. So what should be done to cancer patients? She's talking about being included in the list of people living with disabilities.
Yes,
All
right. I would also echo her words and say that yes, that should happen. And even as we are talking, I'm not saying that COVID deaths are not supposed to be recognized, but I would like to say that they should also say something about cancer, honestly. They should, as much as they're saying, like for example, for cervical cancer, they say 9 women die every day from cervical cancer, and I'd like to encourage women to go for the test. But also, they should also say how many have survived, like people like us have survived, so that people are not scared to go for the screening. Because you can know that, okay, there's support groups, the people who have survived. But again, as he says, we need to be included. Like when we were filling the Uduma form, I put that I had a disability. And this person was looking at me, what is the disability? I can't see it. People want to see you in a wheelchair or on crutches to see that you have a disability. Some of us, we have disabilities that are not visible. So as he says, we need to be recognized and, if possible, get that support that the government is giving to these other people who have the physical disabilities that can be seen. You know, someone looking at me wouldn't know that I've lost a lot of parts of my body. Look at her, she's beautiful, no one would tell. But we are disabled, honestly. If I didn't have this bag, Purity, I couldn't be sitting here with you. Yeah.
And as we began the show, you said that you are glad the CS today was able to recognize this day for cancer survivors.
Right.
Inclusion of cancer survivors in the fight against COVID-19, would you say it's been well executed here in the country?
I must say that's not yet. A lot has not been done.
Where is the gap?
There's a gap in, I can say, in almost everything. One is the recognition. I mean, like there was that mention, and then that's it. It just ends there. For me, what they're doing is just PR. They talk, but what is on the ground, like they usually say, is very different. We hear these talks, and like now they would say, we have stomach bags, but what exactly is on the ground is not. So there's a lot. The recognition is not there. Yeah.
All right, we are winding up. Your final remarks, as you tell us, celebrating life was the theme for this day's annual national celebration on cancer survivors. What are we celebrating? What are you celebrating as Lucy?
Myself,
yes.
One is to be alive.
Yes.
To be alive is the greatest celebration that I have today. And to stand here and tell people that cancer is not a death sentence, we are here. The problem is that survivors don't sell. If, for instance, you brought people on wheelchairs, on clutches, very sick, the response could be very different. But now you've brought these beautiful ladies here. Do you think it is going to sell? It doesn't sell. So I'd at least like recognition for survivors. Let us be given a space. When we go out there and say that I survived this and I'm here.
And this actually means that you've gone through the entire treatment journey.
Of course.
Yes.
I've done the entire treatment journey. When we go out and say that we are here and you people can see us and you've survived this and we've gone through this. Even those people who have been diagnosed with cancer this particular minute, their notion could change. The way they see things could change. They say, oh, even those people can stand there and say that they are there. So even me, I'll fight on and take the treatment and move on. And I usually tell people, let us be positive with what we're having in Kenya. Not everybody can go to India. Not everybody. what Kenyatta is giving me, let me be positive with it and accept it, because at the particular moment is what they can offer. We may desire for more, but it is not there. And when you have a positive mind and a positive attitude towards everything, I believe things change for the better, and you'll always have the smile on your face.
Oh, what a powerful way of ending the show. Sally, your message to women out here, I know there is always a call to go out for screening for different types of cancer. As you tell us what you're celebrating today.
I would like to say that I'm celebrating life. It is a privilege to be alive, actually, after going through what I've gone through. But what I'd like to say that no woman should die of cervical cancer. Personally, when I was tested, when I was screened, I was not having any symptoms. So women, let's not wait for symptoms. Let's go early and do the test. Because if you wait, the reason why a lot of people are dying from cancer is that they wait for the pain. And unfortunately, there's no pain in cancer in the early stages. So pain only comes when now these cells are formed and they're rotting, and now you get pain. But otherwise, stage 1, stage 2, there's nothing. Like personally, I can share my experience, I didn't have any pain. So please, let's not wait for pain. And those who have already gone through it, please know that we are here. There are support groups that you can join. And let's keep hope alive.
All right.
Yes.
Don't wait for the pain.
Don't wait for the pain, because they may never be pain.
Yes, and Jerry is saying, always be positive and appreciate what you have. Thank you so much for those powerful words. And of course, there is some love messages and kind messages from Twitter from our viewers. Oyango Gideon is saying the testimony from Lucy Njeri and Sally Agalo can urge those who are affected from any cancer disease that they can also survive. Thank you. And then at Diadum time, you're saying, let the ladies know that we love them out here and we are proud of them.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you so much for making time for us and encouraging every person out here, women and every cancer survivors, as we celebrate your lives.
Thanks for having us.
All right. That's the end of our show tonight. It's been great having your company. My name is Purity Museo. Baranabuli has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your night, and God bless.
Majina langu ni Pastor Patrick Mutua Philip kutoka eneo la Machakos. Kanisa ni la AIC ya Kamete. Ningependa nilete neno la Bwana katika